introduction rendition. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Solution Provider Program launch hosted by CB Pacific, Automatech, and our friends at GE. My name is Mark Fusick, and I want to thank you for taking the next 1 hour of your morning to join us as we walk you through some of the exciting information that we have to offer. I want to take a moment and share with you the guest speakers that we have today. For those of you who know me, my name is Mark Fusick. I manage West Coast sales for CB Pacific. Yeah, we've probably bumped into each other over time. I've been in this industry now for 30 plus years, as everybody continues to point out to me. That just means I'm old, I guess. Prasad Pai will be kicking off conversations around what's new in GE and some of our new products. He's our global industry and partner market director. Tim Ogden, who will be leading, who is our senior director of our solution provider program from GE Digital, and Jimmy Felice, who's the senior product manager within GE Digital. All of these faces and names might be familiar with you since they've all been in the industry for a long time. And then last but not least, Evan Moore, who's going to walk us through the coffee product that you may have received at your doorstep. If you haven't, it will be coming shortly. I have a bag of it sitting next to me. I do spend my time purchasing their product quite a bit. There's a little additional plug for you. So I want to take a moment, walk through the agenda so that everybody gets an idea of what we're going to be discussing today. Again, we're going to kick it off so that you can start your day out right with a little sip of coffee that you may or may not purchased in the past. Evan's going to walk you through some of the tasting notes, tell you a little bit about the Portland Coffee Roasting Company and how they came about. We're then going to give you an update on GE's Solution Provider Program and what's new in it and how we've changed it moving forward for 2022 and 2023. We'll also be taking a high-level view of what's happening in iFix and Simplicity 2023. This is a product that's being announced and released shortly. We'll also introduce you to Configuration Hub, a new product called Configuration Hub, and Operations Hub. If you'd like a deeper dive on these products, we would be happy to go over that with you. I would encourage you to reach out to either myself, put it in the chat, or ask questions in the chat. Also, reach out to your local CB or Automatech salesperson. In the mail, you'll be receiving a plaque and a poster that we'd love for you to hang proudly in your office space. As a partner of GE, you should be seeing those shortly. So that said, let's kick it off a little bit with Evan. And Evan, if you could take it and walk us through what we're tasting and what's going on with the product that we've all received.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and thanks to CB Pacific for letting us get our coffee into your folks' hands. I've worked at Portland Coffee Roasters for about 10 years now. You see some of our info here on the screen. If you like this coffee, check out our website. Got a 20% discount there for you on the website. So yeah, this coffee, Portland House, you should have received it, or it's on the way. It's a blend of coffees from Guatemala and Costa Rica. So in coffee, you usually have a single origin or a blend, and blends are taking two distinct coffees and combining them to kind of create a unique flavor profile. So coffees from Guatemala are traditionally pretty sweet, chocolatey. Comes from the high elevation that they're usually grown at. And then, so that's part of it, is the Guatemalan, and then a Costa Rican coffee is also used in this Portland House. And those coffees are a little more fruity, tangy. So we're combining those kind of profiles to create what we have here in Portland House. And if you're not really familiar with coffee, you can see behind me, these are coffee shrubs. And when coffee is grown, it comes in like a red cherry with the seeds, the beans inside the cherry, and the fruit is processed off the seed. And the way it's processed will change the taste of the coffee. So these coffees are wet processed, so water is used to wash the fruit off quite quickly, and it imparts more of like a clean taste, as opposed to like a natural process where the fruit will be on the seed for longer and impart the sugars into the bean, and those coffees are usually very fruity, a little more jammy. So yeah, it should be a pretty clean, chocolatey coffee, and I really hope you enjoy it. Our company, Portland Coffee Roasters, you might be familiar with us if you've gone through the Portland Airport. We have 3 cafes there. But in reality, we're pretty small other than those outposts. Um, Independently owned and operated since 1996. So kind of one of the original micro roasters in Portland. And we're still going strong, and hope you really enjoy it. And if you have any questions about coffee, we can take a minute here, and happy to answer, any dumb questions that you might have or wondered about coffee for a long time. Go ahead and type them in there. But if not, I'll just throw it back to Mark and just thank you again for allowing us to get you caffeinated this morning.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Evan. Again, I'm a big fan. I buy a lot of it. I
Right
guess
on.
it's
Yeah.
just what you get used to, I guess, or what you prefer.
Yeah.
So
I'll stick on here, so if you do have any coffee questions, just go ahead and type them in, and I'll answer as you folks go along.
thanks, Evan. Thanks,
Yeah.
Evan. So CB Pacific and Autumn Tech have been supplying and partnering with GE for 25 years now. And during that 25-year period, we've actually grown to be GE's largest licensed supplier of software products globally. We now have 420 plus technical sales reps like myself supporting the community in North America. We're here to help your team make your life easy. And how do we do that? We do that through certified training services. We provide you with seminars and workshops and webinars to help educate your team so that when you're involved on a project that has GE software on it, we're really here to make your life easy and minimize the amount of time that you're in the field working on a project and hopefully improving your bottom line. We spend the lion's share of our time focusing on 5 pillars. And those 5 pillars are controls, SCADA, and automation, manufacturing and information systems. Some of you might equate that to the MES world. We're now spending a good chunk of our time in an emerging market, better known as the industrial cloud solutions, Industry 4.0, IoT edge connectivity. We are also a supplier and a supporter of systems, network, and infrastructure products. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. We got started years back in an older emerging market, better known as the OT cybersecurity space. It has now become something that's quite commonly discussed on every project that we get involved in. So I believe that our organization can help your team, whether it's working on a project as small as a local HMI, working on a pump valve, questions related to compressors, connectivity with variable frequency drives, or a larger enterprise deployment, whether that's dealing with a high availability SCADA system or a dedicated reporting package connected to a local historian. We're here to help educate your team, support them, and again, make that life easier for you. So if you have any questions throughout this event, I encourage you to type them in the Q&A window that's on your desktop, or feel free to add something in the chat. All of this will be monitored by the individuals on the meeting. And again, thank you for joining. Enjoy your coffee. I've had probably a pot of it already this morning, so and I'll continue on with my second. So that said, I want to introduce Tim Ogden. Tim is the Senior Director for GE's Solution Provider Program and Partner Ecosystem. So Tim, if you could take it away.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Mark. Hey, thanks everybody for joining today. And as Mark indicated, I head up our solution provider program for our partner ecosystem. And, we work very closely with our reps and our systems integrators, and we're excited to kind of talk a little bit about the program today. I'm going to just shut my video off to optimize my bandwidth. So if you can go to the next slide. All right, so recently in the news, you may have heard a little bit about GE and the future plans to roll off into 3 individually traded companies. So that is actually true, and so those 3 companies are going to be basically independently publicly traded companies, and those are healthcare, Vernova, and aerospace. Now, GE Digital will reside inside of the GE Vernova space. And if you flip to the next slide, Vernova is really, structured into 12 individual businesses. And, if we kind of take a step back and we look at GE today, prior, we were rolled up underneath the energy business already. And so for us internally, it's really no change. But again, there's going to be 12 individual businesses that are kind of focusing on manufacturing and power and energy. We talked a little bit about GE's global reach. So, we've got, over 20,000 customers globally, about 500,000 software installations across 20 countries, 90 countries. So, we really are 100% focused on software platforms, and we basically divested ourselves of all the PLCs and the hardware about 3 to 4 years back. So if you go to the next slide, our key message to our SI community is really, our products functionality and vision, continues to be driven by the customer demand, SI input, and really the technology trends that are out there. And SIs are a big part of that. Now, we depend on our SIs. GE is not focused on growing our services business, right? So our partners, our systems integrator partners, deploy over 95% of our automation solutions. So those 20,000 customers and 500,000 software installations were done by you, our solution providers. And so, we continue that model forward. We have dedicated SI resources internally. So, one of my jobs is really to continue to drive that business and put forth competency, business development programs and things like that to really help grow our mutual business. One of the things that we continue to do is really re-energize that focus on competency. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the things we've done so far this year and what we plan on ramping up as we move forward. We talked a little bit about our focus on software solutions and, where we're investing. And really one of the big things, and I know Prasad will talk a little bit about this, is, our newer coordinated product release. So we've got a lot of products that we've been working with our customers over the year, and our products are very tightly integrated, which is, I think, a big differentiator from our competitors. So he'll talk a little bit about the coordinated product release, but we're in our 2nd year of that. The other thing too is we continue to launch new products. So as you'll see in 2022 and 2023, as we start rolling that out, I mean, on the right is just a list of a few items that we've released. So our AWS Native Historian, Operations Hub, Config Hub, Orchestration Hub. So these are all new products that didn't exist 1 to 2 years back. Next slide, please. Now, we launched our new program infrastructure in June of 21. And so just as a quick summary of that, there are 3 real key components that we use as our drivers. Number 1 is the relationship. So, the project activity, relationship commitments and things like that. So we have 3 tiers of program levels: member, gold, and platinum. And, whether you're a member or a platinum member, we really offer up a lot of competency training and programs to you. It's really how you want to position yourself with GE and where you want to leverage some of our programs. The business development side and engaging on expanding your practices. So we want to really focus on digital transformation, moving you up that industry 4.0 stack, where a lot of our customers are going, and really find new markets. So, depending on where your focus is in manufacturing, whether it's industrial automation, manufacturing execution, and MES, we want to definitely help you grow your business into either of those 2 markets. The other thing we've done is kind of put more emphasis on segment competency and experience. So our customers are asking us, to further benchmark knowledge and experience. So for that reason, we're implementing certification and segmentation for our partners. On the right, if you look at the certification, we've implemented 2 different types. So one's industrial automation and one is enterprise manufacturing. And really those are comprised of HMI, Operations Hub, and Historian on the industrial automation side. And our enterprise manufacturing, or MES, focuses more on Ops Hub, Historian, and Plant Apps. So as we move forward, we'll be looking for you guys to ramp up and challenge your engineers and get them certified. Now, we have also introduced 3 new identities, which really focus on the engineer, which is our certified professional. So as they pass these exams, they can use this identity mark on business cards or to promote themselves individually. And then as they complete the various segmentation, the company can use the manufacturing execution certified or industrial automation certified identity. Next slide, please. Mark talked a little bit about this, but one of the things that we did is we've introduced the logos, as we just talked about, for certification, but we also designed a new plaque. And if you haven't received it yet, Mark will be getting that out to you, and the posters. And for us, we want you to leverage these credentials, whether it's on your literature, your business cards, your websites. So promote it as we promote you guys. Next slide, please. So got a polling question. So one of my jobs is really to figure out what some of the critical needs are for systems integrators. So a question is, as a systems integrator, what are your top issues that you're most concerned about, or that you look for from a vendor like GE? So a few of the items I put up there, like, product training, technology, are you looking more for industry and market trends? Do you want more discounts? So what are the core things that are important to you as a systems integrator? And Mark, as that poll is filling up, you can go ahead and flip to the next slide if you want. So as Jennifer collects some of the answers for this, when we look at our programs, our program benefit cornerstones are really in 4 key areas: product and architecture. And so the items I have highlighted in bold are really some of the areas that we've enhanced in the new programs. And I'm not going to go through each and every one of those, but I would encourage you to sit down with your CB Pacific rep and really discuss what some of the new benefits are and how they apply to you. Competency and knowledge, so that's a big one. So for me, it's really, what kinds of product training do you need? Do you have a whole new staff of engineers? Do you just need product updates? So those are some of the key areas that I'll talk about later in the presentation of what we've introduced. The business development side, that really is more focused on, what kind of incentives and benefits can we put in place to help you grow your business? So is that success planning? So doing a mutual, action plan that really lays out target accounts, or how do we ramp you up in Historian or Operation Analytics to go create a new segment that you may want to move into for services. So that's another one of the categories. And then the last one is tech support. So, making sure that you have all the resources to be successful. So can we staff somebody up if it's your first project using Historian, for example? How can we help you structure that? How can we get you ramped up as quickly as possible to minimize any risk? Next slide, please. All right, so we talked briefly about competency. So that's a big area for us. And on the left, we kind of list what is included as a part of the program. So number one, instructor-led training access has always been a part of the program. However, what we've done is we've expanded that for our gold and platinum level. We've added additional seats for instructor-led training. So as we start to migrate our partners up into those levels, for those that are interested, you will pick up some additional seats there. Self-paced courses and videos has always been a benefit. And just to remind everybody, you have unlimited access. So get your engineer signed up with an account. There's no charge to access that, and you can use those on demand as needed. The YouTube channel that we have, that's another area for learning. So the unique thing about the YouTube channel that you want to make sure you pay attention to is that when we introduce brand new products, and I'll use the example of the AWS native Historian, some of the training modules on how to stand one of those servers up in the cloud, we posted some of those videos first on the YouTube channel, as it takes a while to develop the formal curriculum and things like that. So that's a great place to go to get tips, tricks, and how-tos. And then the three additional things that we've introduced as a part of the new program is the SI webinar series and the product office hours. And then we talked about the certification, as well as some of the custom events that we do with our solutions architects that are more one-on-one. Next slide, please. The webinar archives, hopefully everybody has gotten emails from GE inviting you to these, but if not, these are all posted, both the video and the presentation. So we've done roughly 10 of them between June and October 14th. And so you can get those from either your CB Pacific representative or Automatech rep, or you can download them yourself. It does require an account to get into our community portal, but there's a link down below that is how you can get that. And then we've got a few future events that are planned. So one of them is introducing those systems integrator office hours, and those are sort of the opposite of a webinar. So that a webinar is typically 45, 50 minutes of demonstration and talking about the product, and 10 minutes of Q&A, whereas the office hours will have key topics that we'll talk about. So it might be, an integration topic of sorts with a couple of different products of focus. And then we'll spend about 10 minutes on that, but the entire session is really geared towards sort of an open question forum. So you can talk about project questions or anything that you have as an SI that you want to try to get some more information on. Those are staffed by our solutions architects and our product managers. The final thing I want to reference is that we're just getting ready to ramp up our 2023 coordinated product release. So there's 8 products that will be in that mix, and there's all kinds of new features and functions for 2023 planned, and I think Prasad will touch on a few of those later. Next slide, please. One of the things I wanted to also point out is that we've got a very robust and feature-rich community portal for our solution providers. And if you've never been there before, it's a great place to go for sales and marketing resources. There's product information, pricing up there, but that's where you'll find like seminar kits, customer success stories. We have competitive analysis up there. So if you're going up against a competitive product and you want to know, what are some of the gaps in their functionality and where do we shine above them, you can get that information up there. In addition, if you do a lot of functional design specifications, we have templates up there for the product. So there's a large variety of information up there. And it allows you to search by presentation, PDF, video, or just a free form text. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit about, GE's success long-term, and so up on that website, you'll find, the success stories where we talk about 90% of the top food and beverage companies. There are actual success stories for those companies up there. We talk about 40,000 plus users in automation. So as you're selling into your new customer bases or existing ones, these success stories are available to you. And also, if you have customers that want to write a success story, or you yourself want to write a success story, we would love to help you with that as well. And then on the next column over, the results achieved. So every one of those items on that list, we have a defined success story that you can leverage and you can use. And then in addition, if you focus on the MES space, we've also got information relative to the new Gartner Magic Quadrant, where GE was the #1 in critical capabilities for MES. So you can download that and share that with your customer as well. All right, next slide, please. So as we wrap things up here, a couple things I wanted to talk about is our partner locator. So we're planning to revamp that in early 2023. And some of the things we're going to be adding in is the new program tiers. We're going to put in the new technology segmentation, as well as start to identify certification credentials for the engineers and the companies to align with what the customers are asking us for. In addition, we'll be put in some regional radius searches as well. Now, I do, if you want to jump to the next slide. I do, in wrap up, want to really remind you that, the new program, there's a lot of new features and benefits in there, and make sure you take the time to go through some of that with your Automatech or CB Pacific representative. And, if you want to sit down and put together a success and mutual action plan, I would definitely recommend sharing your business goals, target accounts, and things like that, so we can kind of help you and find out if we're already in that account, introduce you to some people, or just try to figure out how we can try to assist you in your sales process. The other part of that is really sitting down and developing your competency and certification roadmap. So where are the areas that you really want to ramp up on your competency? Are there new engineers we need to get trained up? So we can help you with that as well. So we've got a template available that helps step you through that. Number 2 action item is really make sure you update and or create your partner locator profile if one does not exist. We get over 1,000 hits to that site per month. And those are customers trying to locate systems integrators to implement our projects or our software. Now, when it comes to CB Pacific or Automatech, their reps, when they're working with their customers, they're obviously going to try to align with their strategic SIs. But, with 20,000 customers globally, there are people constantly hitting that and looking for systems integration assistance. And then last but not least is really just, learn more. We put these SI webinars in place specifically for our SI community, the SI hours, the 2023 product releases. So the goal is really to keep you on top of technology trends and GE software. So, please join those, provide us input on other things you'd like to hear. All right, and next slide. For those of you that don't know how to gain access, or you do not have an account for all the training and certification tests, those are all online, and I put a slide in there that kind of steps you through how to create a new account. And that's it.
Awesome. Hey, Mark, do you want to move to the next slide? Cool. Thank you, Mark. So folks.
So Prasad, can I interrupt you real quickly? I'm sorry. I was on mute and saying a whole lot of really important things. So thanks, Tim. I really appreciate that information. Jennifer, it looks like there's a couple of questions in the Q&A section. I was wondering if you could.
No, actually, we don't have any, but I will interject if we get any.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then my desktop is not providing me with the right GUI information. So, that said, Prasad, if you would be so kind to kick it off.
Sounds good. Thank you. Folks, again, quick introduction. I'm Prasad Pai. I am part of the automation product team here at GE Digital. Some of you folks may know me, and as Mark mentioned, as Mark actually likes to introduce me, we both started doing this when we were 16 and we are 20 now. So
that's right.
Been doing this for a long time, and as came to GE Digital as part of the Intellution acquisition, and I'm happy to present what we're going to release as part of our 2023 prophecy release that Tim talked about. And really excited. Thank you for your time today. And Mark, if you want to move to the next slide. So before I get into our focus of 2023, just wanted to quickly touch base on the fact that over the years we've seen kind of automation change. I would say just how customers view automation, or what is the role of automation in the solutions they deploy today, has been changing. And I give an example where when I first started, I started with Fix on DOS, and that's when we implemented solutions. The first day was just training operators on how to use a mouse, and we've come a long way from those days. But as we kind of see how automation fits in today's solutions, I mean, especially when I think about a manufacturing customers, it's very rare that a manufacturing customer comes and says, I want to buy a SCADA. In most often they come in, wanting to buy an execution system, but an execution system that will support an automation layer for data acquisition, that will do alarm management and things like that. So just how customers view what the automation layer provides is changing. And with that, as we think about our roadmap, or we think about the NPI investments that we are making in our products, we are looking at aligning ourselves to the trends that customers want to go with their systems. And a big trend right now in the industry is of the connected worker, and I'll speak to that a little bit in the following slides here. But we have a major focus on connected worker. We've made major strides, especially with our Operations Hub product. If you have not looked at that product, I'll talk about it a little bit. The other thing that we are hearing is the need for composable deployment. And when I say composable deployment, it could mean customers are looking for a hybrid deployment. We have several customers now that are deploying a cloud infrastructure on premise, but they're running SCADAs in VMs on the cloud. And so just the way customers are looking at deploying the systems is changing. They're looking at can we just deploy an edge node and then aggregate everything to a central node, and can we consolidate our SCADA? So there's so many different questions we are getting in terms of how customers want to deploy these systems. So composable deployment and really the system of OT, where forever customers have said we want to do alarming in the PLC, but everyone knows that PLCs don't do alarm lifecycle management or they don't do alarm management. So then they are expecting saying, if we are doing alarming in the PLC, can your SCADA just read that alarm and manage it for us? And I think those are some of the system things that we are looking at, and how can we, and especially with with the proliferation of IoT and MQTT and the ability to receive alarms from devices, the concept of being able, looking at SCADA as the aggregator of this information that is more than just a sensor data is getting more and more popular, and that's something that we are looking at as we look at our investment. And the last is really where customers are saying, at what point is the SCADA starting, going to move from being advisory rather than just be the supervisory layer that it is today. And this is where a lot of the AI, ML, and adding analytics down at the SCADA layer is increasing. So that's something that we are looking at. It's nice to conceptually talk about SCADA being advisory, but the moment we kind of think of do customers have the resources to start creating analytical models and deploy those models and things like that. I think there's a little bit of maturity required there, but we are constantly kind of researching on how do we make it easier for customers to adopt analytics. So that's one of the other pillars that we are investing in as part of our automation investment. So Mark, if you can go to the next slide. So looking at our 2023 release, we as a team kind of focused on three themes. One was obviously the connected worker, and this is an important release for us, especially as it gets towards completing the prophecy portfolio story with the connected worker. The second theme was really looking at how do we make it easier for our system integrator partners to be able to deploy, be able to configure it more easily, whether it is security configuration, whether it is SCADA configuration, just how do we make it easier for you folks to do any changes and deploy the changes, as an example, or upgrade customer systems. So that was a key theme. And I'll talk about it as we get to the product release portion of it. And just the flexibility of deployment. I talked about this in the composable deployment pillar, but just looking at can we allow hybrid deployments? Can we allow, this has been a request ever since we came up with iFix failover. Can we separate the two nodes of iFix across different buildings or across different sites? And just some of the investments we have made is towards making some of these concepts possible as we look at the 2023 release here. So Mark, if you want to kind of quickly, so talking about the connected worker, this is a concept where it goes beyond just saying that okay, everyone is going to get access to the operational data, or it is just it goes beyond saying yeah, we'll support UI on phones and on Apple Watches and on tablets. This is more about how do we drive a single context, and by driving the single context, how do we drive data transparency across different personas that we have in an operation. So when someone is looking at an equipment on a line, how does the line operator look at that equipment versus the equipment is presented in the same manner to a maintenance person or to a quality person or a process engineer who wants to gather information related to that equipment? And that is something that we have been working on, both from a standpoint of getting to a common model configuration on top of our products, but also through our Operations Hub product. And Mark, if you can flip over to the next slide. The Operations Hub product, if you have not tried it, and Tim kind of mentioned the office hours, and we'll be starting Operations Hub office hours pretty soon, that give you some training on how do you start your app with Operations Hub, or how do you create a analytical interface with Operations Hub. But just getting into the Operations Hub product and the capability for our Prophecy portfolio, this is a single designer that we have now, where you can design all kinds of operational apps, whether it is whether you're designing something for monitoring and control, whether you're designing a dashboard and a KPI screen for your managers and supervisors, in your plant, or if you have been asked to create an application for a maintenance person. Just yesterday, we were talking to one of the customer who said, it would be pretty cool if our maintenance person can look at a tag out, lockout information, click on the equipment that has been tagged out, and that brings up a 3D representation of that equipment that they can roll around. Now with Operations Hub, you can actually mix and match your HMI with some of these 3D technologies. Operations Hub is a native HTML5 tool. So it supports all any kind of SVG graphic that you can bring in. It could be an external application that supports SVG rendering, and you can bring that into Operations Hub and mix and match with your HMI information here as well. Now, the strength of Operations Hub is, the UI side is definitely the key aspect of Operations Hub. But the important thing to realize is Operations Hub has a data distributor layer that allows you to not just connect to Prophecy data sources, but it has native OPC UA, MQTT, or REST or SQL interfaces that you can go connect to your CMMS systems, or you can go connect to your SAP EAM system if you want to mix. As you think about integrating and creating some advanced applications, Operations Hub would allow you to now bring this disparate data together to present a really intelligent interface for your customer applications. And the best part about Operations Hub is it's low to no code development. So this is not where you have to write lines and lines of code. There are capabilities of trying to help you navigate in the screen, or being able to just drag and drop your iFix tags, or your simplicity points, or your historian tags onto a pie chart or a trend. It's there's no scripting required in this particular tool. Even the custom interface that lets you develop your own applications or your own interfaces, that is also low to no code, where you don't have to write any complex Python scripting or complex VB or VC++ scripting here to create your applications. So that's the strength of this tool. And what we are doing as part of the 2023 release, and Mark, if you want to go to one.
Hey, Prasad, sorry to interject. We actually did receive a question.
Sure.
So what is GE's vision on maintaining competition against competing players in the SCADA business, such as Ignition, regarding the software licensing of GE software products?
Sure. So as part of, as you see some of the enhancements that we are doing here, where I was just going to talk about the iFix and Simplicity 2023 releases will support an HTML5 HMI interface that is powered by Operations Hub. So this in itself, from a technology standpoint, allows us to really compete well with competition. And as we introduce 2023, we are also looking at how do we license and get to a more centralized licensing model that could be more SCADA server based rather than the licensing model we have today. So that is something that we are working actively. As we get closer to the release of both iFix and Simplicity, we will be rolling out this new licensing model that will, I think, in fact, not just allow us to compete, but it will leapfrog what we are seeing out there from a competition standpoint in terms of the licensing model we will come up with. So any other questions?
And yeah, one more. How about past GE products such as iFix version 6 and below?
Can you say that again, Jen?
Yes, how about past GE products such as iFix version 6 and below?
So for version iFix 6 and below, I mean, we actively maintain it. We actually allow customers. So one of the strengths of GE and why I think, and I've been with the Fix and iFix product for 30 years now, and one of the strengths of the product has been that we never leave our customers behind. If you look at our history, we always have customers. We have tools that allow customers to migrate further. So for customers who are on 6.0, we will support an easy migration to some of the newer technologies. Now, obviously, we realize that as we get to a more HTML5 interface, there's going to be a challenge between VBA to how does it migrate into this new environment, and we do plan to solve for it. But just moving graphics, we've already kind of solved it with allowing you to export iFix graphics or simplicity graphics to SVGs and bringing that in. So if your question was around upgrade of 6.0 customers, then I think we have these customers covered. If your question was more around will our new licensing model support iFix 6.0, then the answer is no. I think that licensing model will be more for our 2023 version and any of the version that follows 2023.
So if I can interject, Prasad, if there's a commercial discussion around that, the GECB team is more than happy to embark and do a deeper dive around that. So
yeah, thanks, Mike. Cool. Any other before I move forward, Jen? Okay, I'll take that as a no and keep moving. Just one, can you go back again? I just wanted to kind of explain the HTML5 HMI piece, Mark. Yeah, so as I mentioned, both iFix and Simplicity 2023 will release with Operations Hub and the HMI capability that we are adding to Operations Hub as a client option for customers. Now, again, this is our first release, so obviously when you compare this HTML5 HMI to what Workspace provides or what the Simplicity Workbench provides, there is going to be a difference there. But for customers, like the use case I mentioned, where it's an existing iFix customer, they have created their screens already, but they are looking for some advanced applications for users that use the iFix HMI but are not control room users. They're looking for something more to do with the HMI screen or the SCADA data that they get. You can mix and match the Operations Hub clients with your iFix or Simplicity clients that you may have for now. And as we mature this HTML5 HMI by adding more capabilities into this, this will start to become a HMI of choice that will provide you a lot of scalability, which a lot of you folks have challenges today when you try to scale some of our existing products. So this will give you a lot of scalability on it. But what we are doing as part of this release is, starting with this release itself, you will have the ability to, there are two ways you can bring existing customers forward. One, you would be able to host your existing graphics as a web shell within the Operations Hub HTML5 interface that you have. Or you would be able to export your graphics as SVG and bring it into Operations Hub as a native graphic, and then connect it to your SCADA data or your historian data, and be able to animate it as if it was a native graphic created within the designer. Same thing if you or your engineers prefer a different SVG designer that is non-GE, and you like the graphical designing capabilities of an SVG editor, you can design an HMI there, bring it in here, and OPSA will look at it as if it's a native design graphic, and you would be able to connect the SCADA and the historian data sources here. So that's kind of the strength we are adding to Operations Hub. With this HMI capability, now Operations Hub actually is able to, it will be a single designer that you can use to create an HMI, to create a historian analysis screen, to create a MES execution screen that you may be looking at a dashboard like data, or look at more of a task-based data. So it's one designer now for you to create all possible operational applications you may have. We have customers who have started with historian analysis on Operations Hub, but today they've gone and used the same designer to create environmental monitoring graphics or energy monitoring dashboards. So you would be able to use this single designer now, and you can actually, even though you can create separate apps, you can exchange information between apps as well with Operations Hub. So this will start to become that single designer for your operations use now, and I think this is going to be a key strength of our portfolio going forward. So Mark, if you can. The other thing we are doing to help customers and to really make it easier for our system integrator partners to deploy our systems is to get more towards a centralized management through our Config Hub capability. And with our 2023 release now, you will be able to deploy your iFix or Simplicity projects. You would be able to define security through one place. It will be one model across iFix, Simplicity, Operations Hub, and Historian. So it's one context. So one-time configuration for your solutions. As you look at the model context, you would be able to have a real-time context to the equipment, or you could have a historian context to that. So as you use that model context in your graphics, and it need not be an Operations Hub graphic. It could be a graphic in your workspace. It could be in your Simplicity workbench. It will be the same model context going forward. So that's a big enhancement that we are doing, and we continually keep on adding capabilities to this, and some of the things that we'll be focused on how do we do backup restore, versioning of your projects, being able to do add more disaster recovery capabilities in terms of taking backups and things like that. So this is kind of our third iteration of what we have added, and getting more towards one place to configure, one place to manage, one place to deploy. The other thing that we did as part of, and this actually came out with the 2022 release, but we have kind of enhanced it further with 2023, is this prophecy installer, which now lets you define what kind of a node do you want to install. And so rather than going and installing 3 or 4 different products, if you say I want to install a SCADA node that runs Historian on that SCADA node, that installer will take all the components needed and install it on that node. So you don't have to think about the order in which you install, or how many different packages do I have to go. It will go and install iFix or Simplicity, IGS, Historian that is needed, or Historian collectors if you say I have a remote Historian. So that installer will do that intelligence and go and do that installation to you. We've also kind of in 2022, we observed that installation, by going by this method, we reduced the installation time for our customers from anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to 15-20 minutes. And that we kind of continue that further as we adopt it for Simplicity as well. So that's another piece that we've added or enhanced in 2023 rather. And Mark, you want to go further? And the other one, the last one that I want to talk about is we've also kind of hitched our wagon onto the MQTT trend here. where we will be introducing an MQTT bridge, which now allows you to, it's like an MQTT client that listens to all of the brokers that customers may have. And once it receives information from your MQTT brokers, you would be able to transform that MQTT information into OPC UA structures that can then natively be served up to Historian or to your SCADA nodes or to any other application that is OPC UA compliant. This MQTT also adds more flexibility now to the MQTT collector that we have in Historian. So you would be able to take the any IoT data coming through your sensors based on MQTT and send it directly to Historian if that is something that you need as part of your application. And I know we are 3 minutes there, so let me quickly go through the last couple of slides here, Mark, if you want to split. So just in summary, so what iFix 2023 is delivering, we obviously have we talked about the HTML5 HMI through Operations Hub. iFix will deliver the ability to encapsulate the iFix application as a project and deploy it, even deploy components of the project. So if you change a few graphics, or if you add tags, and so you would be able to take those components and deploy it through the centralized interface. We are adding a TCP protocol interface now to failover. This will allow you to separate the nodes across different sites, different buildings. We have also tested this where you could have you could have a backup node in the cloud as a VM, and TCP just improves the distance over which you can synchronize your primary SCADA. What we have also added is packet compression. So now and right now, we've kind of tested a 65,000 tag database, which used to take about 90 minutes. Sorry, not 90 seconds to synchronize. With the UDP layer, it now takes 3 seconds to synchronize over longer distances. So there's a significant improvement that we have done to the failover synchronization, as well as reliability in terms of adding better logging, adding more settings into the INI that lets you control the speed of synchronization and things like that. And then we talked about MQTT. So if you want to quickly, Mark, go to the simplicity one. And some of the similar themes with simplicity, the OpSub, and this is one of the things that we are striving for, is to create more common capabilities that could be supported on both of the SCADA. So you have a choice of what to use based on their application. So again, OpSub HMI will be supported with simplicity. We have the MQTT that support for simplicity. Simplicity also gets on the config hub bandwagon with the common model and support for prophecy authentication with nested Active Directory support, multi-domain support. And then simplicity is adding the OPC UA client-server communication to the product, and also digital screen signing. So this is an added security implementation on simplicity, where if enabled, it will check for the signatures and match to allow access to those screens. So this is an added feature in terms of security that simplicity is adding, which a lot of our power customers have been requesting. And similar updates to simplicity in terms of project updates through failover. So there's some investment that's happening in the simplicity failover as well. So with that, that's kind of pretty much what I had for an update. I know I'm a minute over time here, but
yeah, Prasad, we actually do have a few questions that came in.
Okay.
The VBA currently implemented on iFix is not transportable to the new iFix products.
No, it is. I mean, if you still develop your application within iFix workspace, the VBA should be transportable. If you move your application to Operations Hub, which is an HTML5 application, that's where we are still working on to see how we can help you convert it. but that is where it may not be transportable. But between, from an older version of iFix to a newer version of iFix, if your application still remains in workspace, then you can absolutely transport your VBA application.
Okay, and then one more, how will the SIM installation be deployed on the SCADA and View nodes from this centralized model?
Great question. And yes, so through the Prophecy installer that I talked about, which is a common installer, there is an ability to deploy SIMs as well. And so that will allow you to deploy SIMs. Right now, what we are working on is the ability to see if we can support multi-version deployment for the SIMs versus single versions. But you should be able to deploy using the Prophecy installer any of the SIMs that come for a particular version that is across your SCADA node.
And just one more, is Operations Hub HTML5 native only?
Yes, it is. It is designed on Angular, so it is HTML5 native. Yes, that is the only. Was that question more? Again, I'll ask quick. Is that more in terms of you seeing some other technologies getting popular? And feel free to type your response in the chat.
We have a small group here, so I'm going to unmute the group. So it can be more of an open discussion.
Sure.
Yeah, whoever put that question in the chat, it'd be great to understand a little bit more of the context. We're always looking, we have a very dynamic development team now. And so if there's a trend that we may be missing or have not picked up on, it's something we should tease out a little bit more. So
you guys should be able to unmute yourselves now in the audience.
Yeah, I think this question came from Carrie. So Carrie was, if I can understand a little bit of the context around that question, if there's something else that you seek from a technology standpoint that is not HTML5 friendly.
The question was more because the way the presentation is going, I understood that like this new product is gonna. I might have misunderstood it, but I understood that this Operations Hub is like the centralized way of you guys deploying SCADAs through SCADAs and View nodes, that's what I understood. So when you said that this Operations Hub is HTML5 and you're working on transporting the VBA code into it, was kind of like, is it part of iFix or is it a separate product?
Got it. So there are two aspects of it, and sorry if I confuse you there. So there are two aspects to the presentation, right? So there is Operations Hub, which is the visualization piece of it, and then the centralized deployment is through Config Hub, which is again a web-based centralized configuration interface, but that is just an interface for you to start do your configuration files. It does not impact how, when you get into workspace, how you develop your VBA code or anything like that. It just is an external utility to centrally, like your SCU that you use today in iFix. All of the capabilities of the SCUs have been moved into this web-based interface. So you would be able to define, what database to use, what paths to use for the SCADA. So it's an external utility to allow you to kind of manage your different deployments, but it does not impact the core iFix, I would say, graphical configuration or anything like that. The Operations Hub piece is the visualization that you would create, right? So it does not touch the configuration aspect when it comes to security or deployment of iFix.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And again, so for competing, GE is competing against, you know, some other companies regarding in the SCADA business.
Right.
Like on the licensing, what you were mentioning about like what that you are working on like a new licensing model, does that apply to iFix or is it only applying to new products?
No. So it will apply to both iFix and Simplicity. And so yes, to answer, it will apply to iFix and Simplicity. As part of that licensing model, you would be able to order this new client, which will be Operations Hub based, or you still would have the capability to order iFix the way you order today using Workspace, right? So that does not change. It's just the licensing model that we're trying to get to a more centralized licensing model, so it makes it easier for you to deploy the licenses.
Thank you.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, we've definitely extended the hour we asked for you. Hopefully you've been enjoying your coffee. We have one last polling question that we'd love to run by you to see what your thoughts are and where things are headed. So if you could take a minute and respond to this, so we can collect the data, that would be great. I hope this has been informative to you. I want to thank you for spending the hour with us. As I said earlier, the CB Automatech support team is always happy to do deeper dives and really peel back the onion on what Prasad has been introducing today, either through our support engineers or through dedicated GE application engineers that we've all been traveling the countryside with. So we look forward to sharing more information with you on the exciting technology that GE is rolling out. I really do believe with our Operations Hub model and what we're doing in the AWS historian component, if you're not familiar with that, we're really providing a new technology statement that I believe will make a difference in the way we deploy SCADA and our historian components today. So with that said, I think we'll close for the hour. Again, thank you for your understanding and spending a little extra time with us. If you have any questions throughout the upcoming weeks, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the individuals on this meeting. We will be making this available to you if you want to share this with other folks in your team who weren't able to join. So again, thank you so much, and we'll be closing for now if there aren't any other questions.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, folks, for joining.